Armada Book 1 Chapter 13 The Bofengs Part 2. After seeing Vicky off for planet Los Angeles, Andrew supervised the upgrading of his ship. His ship got the new cloaking device which took a while to recalibrate. The Norsets even fabricated large portions of the hull of the ships with the new stronger metal. Andrew, the Norsets have given me a large repository of information much larger than what I have and filled it with information about their technologies. I am asking them for more of the devices because I want to transfer our information to their devices because they are more secure. You do that, Olive. And tell the ships to do the same. Is there a way to tell their booths to create ice cream or brandy? They tried hundreds of times and failed. The machines are just not built to create real food. Andrew sighed, that is so sad. After 12 days they heard some bad news from their scouts. GX-1 and the Inky commanders were in their respective ships and were listening on Tonan's report to the Armada. Tonan looked agitated and angry. The scouts reported that 17 of the 61 Bofeng planets have been occupied by the Morts. The scouts deployed dozens of probes on several of the planets. As in the Norset planets, there are thousands of garrisons on the planets holding millions of Bofengs. The Norsets who were part of the scouts' ships reported that the population estimate they got was that the Bofengs lost as much as 25% of their 30 billion population because 10 of the occupied planets are the most populous of their planets. They realized that most of the population loss was because the Morts were eating them and are sending them back to their home world as food. The last 5 planets were overpopulated with refugees from the other planets. The scout ships also reported that they counted more than 540 Mort ships scattered among the 7 planets. Their long-range scanners show more than 200 ships, mostly cargo ships, are moving to and from the Bofeng and the Mort galaxies. Binatan and Tonan appeared in Andrew's bridge and found Gantley, Borin, Janan and GX-1. Greeting GX-1, Gantley, Borin, Janan. It's really a sad day for us. Binatan said. You were expecting this to happen. Andrew commented. But not like this. The carnage is unbelievable. Billions are dead. We have to act or the Bofeng species will not survive. You have to understand these are our brethren and we go back thousands of years. Tonan said. As Borin said, this is what we do. Roger said. The Council is willing to send 400 ships to remove the Morts out of the Bofeng galaxies. Binatan said. Between Gantley and me we only have 120 ships to spare. Some are on various missions, one is being studied, and some are with the Hops. Andrew said. Ellie added, Binatan, the number of ships are not too important. Tonan can just destroy all the Mort ships by himself, there is no doubt that he can. But a large part of the problem are the garrisons on the planet. And we are talking about 17 planets and a lot of population. I would suggest a split and do a diversion. Tonan will destroy all the ships plying the route between the Mort and Bofeng galaxies. The ships in the planets would respond and Tonan destroys all of them. In the meantime we work to try to remove the Morts from the occupied planets and the fastest way to do it is to beam the Morts out. Roger said. That would mean we would need a lot of taggers. I can have thousands of Norsets train under the Max before and during our flight to the Bofeng planets. Tonan said. Eric added, not only taggers, but people who will help the refugees like taking care of their medical needs and food. Binatan looked at Eric, I can send up to 100 cargo ships full of food and supplies and 200 transport ships for the medical teams. We only have to install cloaks and engines on those cargo ships before they leave. This will take a bit of time. Tonan said. Ellie countered, just use the portable cloaking device for now so you can concentrate on loading the cargo ships. Do you know how to take care of the Bofengs, like their medical needs? Borin nodded, we have people who know their physiology and how to cure their problems. We need those people, lots of them. Eric said. Then we have to send the troops to clear the areas of any remaining Mort. Roger added. Godanen beamed to Andrew's bridge. Finally, you have to clean up your mess. Andrew concluded. Godanen, what brings you to our strategy meeting? Andrew greeted. Good to see you all again. Godanen paused and, I was studying how you operate and the tags are a wonderful device and our formulators can make thousands of these in a day. But we created a tag specifically for Mort physiology. The idea is to blanket the area with tags that drop to the targets. Since they are cloaked, they cannot be seen. This way we can deploy tags without endangering lives of our people. The ships will know who the Morts are because the tags will light up while the tags on non-Morts will dissolve. We also produced a deployment device that can spray the tags from above. They look like your round probes, self-propelled and controllable from as far as 200 mly away. We won't be that far away. Ellie commented. I would love to have those. Anything that will lessen our people's exposure to danger is good for all of us. Andrew said. It will not eliminate the need for taggers, but if it will reduce the risk for our taggers, then it's good for all of us. When will you have them ready for us? Gantley asked. They will be ready in 3 days. Godenon said. Well done, Godenon. Binaton said. The next day Binaton appeared and addressed the entire Norset's planets. Binaton started, "This is a sad day for us. We knew that our friends the Bofengs were attacked, but now we are getting reports from the Norsets in the scout ships Andrew sent out and they are not good." He almost repeated the report by Tonen, but he focused on the loss of life which he considered was unbelievable. Binaton continued, "We are obliged to help our closest friends. I am therefore calling all our brethren to come forward and contribute to the mission of helping our closest neighbors. We will be sending out 100 cargo ships of food and supplies and 200 medical ships for our friends. The Council authorized to send 400 ships under Tonen to remove the Morts out of the Bofeng galaxies. With the new engines, plasma cannons and cloaking devices, we expect victory against superior numbers. And with the help from our human, Inky and Mac heroes, we are assured the Bofengs will be freed from their captors." The next day Tonen beamed to Andrew's bridge. "Andrew, how many Norsets can you take in? There are so many volunteers it's hard to turn them down." Andrew told him how the Macs and Inkys handled the problem and he said he will do it that way also. "I would need more people who can help care for the Bofengs when they get freed." Andrew said. "I can send 150,000 of those at least to you if you accept." "Fine, I'll take them all." Tonen added, "I also have 200,000 Tagger volunteers that we can train." "Okay, but no more than that. That's enough personnel." After 4 days all the ships were ready to go, including half of the cargo ships. The Norsets created a lot of fanfare for the Norsets ships that are heading out to battle. The Norset Armada confidence is very high. Andrew and his Armada felt awkward being part of the send-off. They have never been sent off like this. 15 days later, they were parked 30 MLY away between 2 solar systems behind a gaseous planet. The scouts' ships noted that the Morts cannot see or even scan the ships with the new cloaking devices. Tonen proceeded to the farthest occupied planet and split his forces into 4. 100 ships will destroy all ships in the vicinity, and when the main forces come for them 200 ships will ambush them from 2 sides. The remaining ships will remain cloaked and positioned to ambush any ships coming from the Mort direction of the galaxy. They started to send the exploding Mort tags among the planets. The ships simply beamed them to their target locations and then exploded them. In 3 days all their drone tags have been sent out and exploded. They all agreed to start hostilities in 5 days to give the taggers in the planets enough time to finish their job. Andrew sent the scout ships further into the transit area between the Mort and Bofeng galaxies. Tonen added 10 ships to the scout ships so they could learn from the experienced scouts. Olive identified a prison planet for the Morts and 2 Inky ships proceeded to the planet for a more detailed observation. On the second day of preparations Tonen reached the transit area between the Bofeng and Mort galaxies. He scanned more than 128 ships within 100 MLY and found half of these contained Bofeng's prisoners. Tonen appeared before Andrew as a hologram and, "We need taggers over here. The Mort ships have Bofengs in the holding areas. We need to go in and tag all the Bofengs before I start shooting." We figured that to happen. "All the Mort ships we scanned have Bofengs in their holding areas," Andrew said. Gantley dispatched 10 ships with taggers to Tonen's area. They arrived within range in a few hours. Their orders were to tag all Bofengs and bomb the ship engines. Later that day, the scout ships reported that more than 100 armed ships are headed for the Bofeng galaxy. They will arrive in 9 days. They also reported that there are more than 132 cargo ships heading for the Mort galaxy now in the transit area that contain Bofengs. They reported that they will proceed to intercept the cargo ships, tag them and try to get intel. Andrew dispatched 10 ships to intercept all the Bofeng carrying cargo ships. They would help the scout ships tag all the Bofengs and bomb cargo ship engines. For those ships heading back with no Bofengs on board, they also tagged or bombed their engines. On the 3rd day, the ships were all spread out. Tagging operations were now in full swing and they realized 5 days was not enough after they found out that there were Bofengs in all the ships served as food for the Morts. Andrew relied on the more experienced Max for this delicate tagging task. Tonen waited another 3 days before he started shooting. As expected the Morts regrouped when he started destroying ship after ship. Tonen was surprised he destroyed more than 50 armed ships in less than an hour in just 4 volleys from 100 ships. All the cargo ships in the transit areas lost their Bofeng captives and their engines. They just sat there in space unable to move. The Mort ships were very slow and it took them more than 3 days before they reached the area where 200 cloaked Norset ships were waiting to ambush them. More than 400 Mort ships were destroyed in a few hours by Tonen in their front and by 200 Norset ships on their sides. A few ships made a run for it, but they have no match for the faster Norset ships. Tonen regrouped and redeployed deeper into the transit area, waiting for the Mort reinforcement. Again he relied on three-pronged attack strategy against the coming Morts. Within the day, the Mort reinforcement armada arrived. And within the day also they were all destroyed. At this point Andrew's armada were now in cleanup operations. The Marines were dispatched to find and eliminate any Mort left on the planets. The remaining cargo ships have arrived and joined the earlier groups. All the cargo ships were now dispatched to the occupied areas to deal with the refugees concentrating on the cities. The ships from the transit area also arrived in one of the liberated planets and beamed down all the Morts they got from the cargo ships to the prison planet. The next day the scouts reported that based on the communications they gathered from their hacking activities mostly done by Norsets, more than 400 Mort ships were dispatched to the Norset galaxy to reinforce their ships that unknown to them were already all destroyed or taken over by the Norsets. When Tonen heard this he communicated to Andrew that he will intercept the Mort ships midway to the Norset galaxy with 300 of his ships and he will leave 100 of his ships to secure the transit area. In the meantime the remaining Norsets and Andrew's ships in the area tagged and removed all the remaining Morts in all the cargo ships in the transit area and sent the Morts to the prison planet. Andrew told him to wait in ambush at the edge of the Norset galaxy so some of the remaining Norset ships can reinforce him just in case. Before Tonen could leave Andrew asked him to spare half or most if not all of the Mort ships so the Max and Norsets can turn them into hop ships. Tonen agreed and he left for the Mort galaxy. In another 4 days all the planets were secured. They started the space cleanup operations with Norsets doing most of the job with an improvement on the old time warp post cleaners. The Norset transport field located at the back of the time warp field sends all the debris to the nearest planet in a designated dumping area. The planets were in horrific state. There were Bofeng body parts all over the place rotting. The Bofengs were badly in need of sustenance that several thousands died in the 4 days they tried to secure the planets. The cargo ships bringing food and supplies did not last the 4 days. The Norsets began arriving through the hop ships bringing food and supplies to the planets but they were not bringing them in fast enough. The Max have set up in the first 4 days hundreds of small TPs so the food and supplies get to their destinations faster. Andrew doubled and then tripled the number of hop ships so the Norsets can bring the supplies in faster using the Armada ships. The Max also deployed large industrial TPs from the refugee planets to the liberated planets so the Bofengs can help their brethren. Eventually, the Bofengs started to recover slowly. The number of dying Bofengs in a day started to go down. Gantley towed all the 262 cargo ships from the area and from the transit area to an area at the center of all the liberated planets. The Max and Inkeys worked continuously to convert the cargo ships to hop ships. Once they were almost converted, Andrew and Gantley towed them into place to replace the Armada ships. In 2 weeks the converted cargo ships have replaced all the Armada ships from the Norset galaxy to the Bofeng galaxy. During this time also, the Norsets began installing new engines and cloaking devices to the Mort cargo ships. The hop line grew from a double line to 4 lines because of the newly sequestered ships. Andrew found himself near the Mort galaxy so he went on and checked on Tonen. He found out that Tonen destroyed half of the reinforcements and sequestered half. By the time he met with Tonen, the sequestered Mort ships have been converted into hop ships by the Norsets. They were just finishing to set up the cloaking devices, engines, and industrial TPs. Tonen beamed into Andrew's bridge and, "Andrew, where do you want to deploy the new hop ships? There are 211 of them. I will tow them to our galaxy and use them to build a network extending further out. Can you tell the Norsets to install 4 plasma cannons each on all of the hop ships?" Binaton beamed in and, "Andrew, Tonen, the Council wants to extend their congratulations to you and all your men. Tonen, the Council also voted to designate you as Supreme Commander of the Norset Space Fleet. Your people will forever be proud of you. Binaton, for your information, Tonen destroyed all the Mort ships using his armada. We did not lift a finger to fire any of our weapons besides cleaning up the planets. Not only that, Binaton, Tonen showed extreme self-control when I asked him not to destroy half the Mort reinforcement. He could have easily destroyed them because we all know he hates them, but he did not. And that he deserves our praise. Coming from you, Andrew, means a lot to me. With due respects, great leader." Binaton, why do they call you great leader, may I ask? Norsets value emotions. By now you should understand that we are an emotional species. We are a very, very emotional species. Compassion, understanding, respect, friendships, loyalty and equality, so many emotional things are going on inside us. I see these in people and tell them how great they are with these. They see these in me and they see I can express the good qualities almost always. You can call me the mirror image of what good emotions are with my people. I think I understand that I am beginning to understand you. That's not important, Andrew. Andrew looked at him, trying to understand why his understanding things is not important. Byneton continued, what is important is that you and your Armada, and now you Tonen and your Armada, are heroes to the Bofengs. I know you don't like the fanfare and the adulation, Andrew, but these are expressions of happiness, success of good overcoming evil, triumph over pain and oppression, and so on. So you have to bear with it. The Council will go through the TPs and visit all the liberated planets. We do not expect the Council to do any constructive contribution to the relief effort, but their actions are symbolic of our compassion for the Bofengs. Norsets understand this and they appreciate and even expect their leaders to behave this way, to show compassion. Byneton, our job is not complete yet. We have to bring the issue back to the Mort homeworld and demand that they observe certain restrictions. Yes, but that can wait. Look, you just liberated billions of Bofengs from sure death and these people want to say thank you. So let them say thank you and you are obliged to say, you're welcome. This is a proud day for all Norsets because we helped liberate our friends from sure death. Let us have our moment and let you have your moment. Your moment is now, so let us all be happy for you and for everybody. Andrew realized that Byneton can be very convincing and angry at the same time. I'm happy. And Tonen is getting it. I'm happy as well. Andrew added. Byneton smiled. The next day, Andrew and Tonen flew their Armada, tracing and checking the hop lines, to the Bofeng capital planet of Madaruna. They beamed down to a palace building exactly as instructed. They found that all the Norset council members were already talking with the Bofeng king and queen. The king and queen saw them and Byneton, Your Highness, these are Andrew, Gantley and their teams, and Tonen and his commanders. The king and queen stepped in front of Andrew, Gantley and Tonen. They knelt and took a bow. As with the Norsets, all the Bofengs in the palace knelt and bowed their heads. Then the couple stood and, My name is King Madaruna and this is Queen Alamuret. Our race will be forever in your debt. You came when all things were lost in the dark. You are the light that we enjoy from now on. We are proud to be your friends until the end of time. Andrew whispered to Gantley, Am I enjoying this or what? I guess it's just a consequence of what we do. We better enjoy it, I guess. Andrew had the same feeling and nodded in agreement. Byneton spoke about their plight under the Morts and how Andrew saved the day. But this time it was a team effort and he is proud to have helped their friends. It was a long and emotional speech. He talked of the establishment of the hops to the Bofeng galaxies and the coming supplies and provisions from the Norsets. The revival of Norset interest in intergalactic exploration. Finally, he talked of their plans to bring the Morts to their knees so they will not be a source of pain in the galaxies again. The last point drew a cheer from the Bofengs and Norsets except from Andrew's and Gantley's men. Then the queen stepped up and welcomed everyone to a celebration. She thanked the Norsets for providing the food and drinks. I saw your people did not exactly cheer the plans to bring the Morts to their knees. Byneton observed. Our job is to make sure you do not exterminate them. That they continue to live and prosper as a species can. If we remove their intergalactic travel abilities and tell them never to do so unless they prove that it was for peaceful objectives to the Norsets and Bofengs, we effectively put them on their knees. As I said, you are a great leader, Andrew, and we will follow your lead. Byneton, you're right. The Morts can wait. Andrew said. Andrew, several of the captured ships has remains of different species. We do not know what they are or where they come from, but it could be that they are also under Mort rule somewhere out there. The Mort data systems do not even mention them, which is really strange. Tonen said. Tonen, why don't you send 4 Norset scout ships to gather intel? We can send some human, Mac and Inkeys with them to train them on the tricks of the trade. Hack into their home world data systems and try to look for these aliens. In the meantime, tow some Mort ships to act as telecom relays, cloaked of course, so they can communicate to us directly from the Mort galaxy. It could be very important that we save these species from extinction first before we deal with the Morts. Roger said. Good call, Roger. Gantley said. Andrew nodded and, I agree. Where's Ellie? He saw Gotanen and Ellie talking to a Bofeng and waved at Ellie. Ellie waved back and waved him to come over. Andrew, Gadden and Roger walked over to Ellie while Gantley went with Byneton to talk to the king. Gotanen started, Andrew, this is Kuntanel, a very dear friend and the Bofeng head of science and technology. I am glad to meet you, Andrew. Kuntanel said. Gotanen continued, Andrew, one thing about the Bofengs is that they learn things very fast. They connected to our data systems and they learned or knew already anything about the subject. They speak English because 3 days prior to our arrival, when the Norsets delivered the supplies, the Bofengs tapped into our data systems and learned about you and how to speak English. This is the console we gave them so they can communicate with our ships. So they are smarter than you, huh? Andrew asked. Yes, in a way. But they do not care to acquire more knowledge like the Norsets do with so much gusto. They live simply, love to work with their hands, and they have simple needs. They are far less emotional than Norsets, but they sense all the emotions we have. They are more sensitive to our emotions than we are to ours, which is really strange. Sometimes they preempt our emotions, and this was what endeared them to us. Like they understand us emotionally. So they're your shrinks. What are shrinks? Never mind, Godenin, it was just a thought. How long do you live, Contanel? Roger asked. On the average about 2,000 years. Did you say 2,000? Andrew asked and tried looking surprised. Yes, 2 with 3 zeros. Contanel said. That's a lot of time to waste. Roger noted. Like us, they serve their government for 200 years and live the rest of their lives free to do whatever they like. Sometimes the Norsets come over and give them something to do. Godenin said. What do you guys eat? Ellie asked. Contanel faced Ellie. We are primarily carnivorous and like to eat this animal we call a keto, like your cows but a third of the size. We have billions of these. And I think the taste is like your beef. We have a lot of edible vegetation and water animals, so you could say we eat anything. Do they have money? Andrew asked Godenin. Yes, of course. Look at their cities, they thrive like your world because they have a good monetary system. But unlike your world with a lot of fraudsters and trickery, the Bofengs do not know those things. The last fraud was committed more than 1,000,000 years ago and it upset the king then and the populace. Don't you feel the peace and tranquility of these people? I have never met people like these. I guess we could learn from them. Andrew said. The best part is that they are very analytical. If a Norset gets stumped on a problem, they ask a Bofeng and they would be led to the answer. Godenin said. You give us too much credit, Godenin. Contanel said. The next day Andrew and his commanders were requested to see the king. They beamed to a palace hall that had a large table made of black stone and several wooden chairs. The columns at the end of the hall opens to a view of the mountains. One side of the hall has a large carved door made of what looked like shiny metal. Everybody has not seated and is just talking and waiting. It seems the gang's all here. Gantley, I did not see you last night. Andrew said. I retired early. Like you, I am getting tired of too many parties that extend too long. But you seemed to last long last night. Gantley said. Roger added, I retired earlier than you, Gantley. How about you, Eric? I went invisible much earlier than you, Roger. Eric said. For a Mac, while we like to party, I am really starting to party less than I used to. Gadden said. Byneton explained, look, think of these parties as events that are part of your work. And they are, make no mistake about it. King Madiranat walked in with the assistants. They welcomed the group and thanked them for their attendance. He invited them to sit. King Madiranat started, there are 5 species on this table. I plugged into the Norset data systems and it seems the 4 of you have figured out a way to cooperate with each other. I have not seen how your hop system works, but I know supplies and provisions are coming in from the Norsets. I know you have started to install communication devices across the galaxies. I also have seen your victories and how people have welcomed you as we have welcomed you. And we thank you. I also know how technologically advanced the mix of 4 technologies from 4 species can be. We have no technology to share to what you already have. But we have the people that can work for you and your cause. Our lands and our people are open to anything you need. I guarantee that. The Norset Council has determined that our focus should be to heal the pain that has been dealt upon you by the monsters. We believe that the occupied planets need to rebuild, and so will send equipment and people to help your people build whatever they need to build. We will suspend any action to pursue the monsters but instead make sure that all your planets are properly secured. To do this we will install plasma cannons among the planets. While we know the monsters will not attack, we better not get caught unprepared again and make our people feel secure that we are prepared. Norsets will be operating the plasma defense systems. Byneton said. The Norsets are indeed our friends. King Madiranat said. Byneton continued, thank you, King Madiranat. For our part we are increasing the pace of creating newer, bigger and stronger ships. Our ships are just too small compared to Andrew's regular ships, and we realize the size of our existing ships is not efficient enough. We will also install the engines adopted from Andrew's ships. We are continuously studying how to increase the capabilities of the engines and shields we copied from Andrew's Armada. Godenin believes that breakthrough will be forthcoming in the coming months. The Council also fully supports the expansion of the hop systems across all our galaxies. He looked at Godenin. The Norsets will design and build hop ships from scratch that we can deploy quickly. We have also redesigned the hop transmitters to integrate with the hop technology. And since the Mac galaxies are at the center of the sphere that has grown from 4 BLY to 9 BLY across, they will hold the data and control centers for all hop travels and communications. We believe in time of great need like war, a more efficient hop system will help us deal with the issues. What Binatton is saying is that the Norset galaxies have decided to stand up and be the creators and builders of technology and equipment for the 5 species on this table. That is what we are and that is what we do, Godenon said. Binatton added, we will also set up our manufacturing centers in the 3 hidden planets that Boran controls so our friends can benefit immediately. You could say that we will pursue these activities with a high sense of passion as a way to get back at the monsters and help our friends. That is the kind of Norset I remember. We are both angry at the monsters but we both must heal our wounds and become stronger. I will commit to the Norset anything they need to pursue these 2 ends. King Madiranat said. The king stopped talking and the group was quiet for a while. Andrew snored. Quietly but was exactly heard at the exact time by everybody else on the table. Gadon nudged Andrew and he woke up. Roger quickly asked, do you have some ice cream left from last night? Andrew must need some sugar in his blood. Ellie and Gantley were smiling. Olive beamed a can of ice cream each in front of everyone on the table. I guess the celebration have clearly worn him out. Binatton said. He works very hard and sleeps less lately. If his sugar is low his body simply becomes weak and stops, so he falls asleep. Ellie said. King Madiranat looked at Andrew. I apologize Andrew for not taking care of your needs as we should. Anyway, I have said what I needed to tell all of you so we can move to the food that we have prepared for all of you. Andrew was still too sleepy to even react. He saw the ice cream and spoon in front of him. He caught the last words of the king and he opened the ice cream, stood up and ate the ice cream. I am not diabetic Ellie. Andrew whispered to her. Sir, how else can we explain in logical way that you were sleeping the whole time? Good thinking. Tell me what happened while I was sleeping. While going towards the food Andrew held Eric's arm and Eric, a while ago I dreamt about a sinister dark figure with wings, like wings of a dark trenchcoat wearing man hovering above our men on Earth. I want you to go to Earth and follow up on the kidnapping case. I don't want our men threatened like that, not 1 second ever again. Bring a Mac you trust with you. Yes boss.